Juliette Brodsky interviewing Sir Laurence Street. Sir Laurence, thank you very much for making time to be interviewed for the oral history. I'm feeling quite overawed, I suppose, by the prospect of actually talking to you because you've done so much throughout the many years of your career. You've also got a highly illustrious ancestry, and I would like to start, in fact, with a quite distant ancestor of yours, John Street, who I believe was responsible for dispatching two of the miscreants who were responsible for the gunpowder plot in England to blow up the Houses of Parliament.
Yes, well, he was quite a well-known, I was going to say predecessor, but forebear of my family. And in fact, my family became established out here as a result of John Street's wife, Lucy Street, being divorced by an Act of Parliament on the ground of adultery. And she had two sons, and those sons were not well regarded within the English aristocracy. And John Street had a manor, he was a squire of the manor at Berkeley, and so Lucy came out to Australia with her two sons and had established the street link out here.
So were you descended from remittance men, as they were known in those days? In other words, the wayward sons of aristocracy?
Not sons, but when Lucy Street came out here with her two sons, she took up some land at Bathurst with her two sons. Then a marriage later on occurred between one of her sons and the son of Sarah Leadbeater. Sarah Leadbeater was a convicted felon for stealing in England. She'd been sent out here as a convict and was locked up on Norfolk Island. And the military commandant of Norfolk Island was one Lawson, William Lawson, not the author, but this was the explorer, Wentworth Blackson and Lawson. And this girl was about 16 or 17, he had a relationship with her, one of his convicts, and had a couple of sons. In the fullness of time, she finished her length of servitude. He got her granted a pardon, duly married her in Parramatta, and then took up some land at Prospect. But that was after the exploring days.
I understand you're also distantly related to Annie Besant, who was one of the founders of the Theosophical movement.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I was reading a reference to it, and I think a speech by Lloyd Waddy.
Oh, well, it would be right if Lloyd said that, because he was a great researcher.
Very, very interesting. Anyway, I thought it was interesting to read about your kinship there. Sir Philip Whistler Street was your paternal grandfather, and he, in turn, was descended from the couple that you were talking about before, and, of course, he was to become, in due course, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of New South Wales. Did you know your grandfather, Sir Philip Whistler Street, well?
Yes. Every Sunday afternoon, his two surviving sons, my father and my father's brother, and their families, would go to the grandparents' home in Elizabeth Bay, big house called Liveringa in Onslow Avenue. So we would go around there. It was a standard family Sunday afternoon event.
Quite a formal occasion, I believe.
Oh, it was, yes. Had to put on the best gear and go around there and be polite to Granny and Grandfather. And they used to be, quote, at home, unquote, on Sunday afternoon in the Victorian tradition, and people would drop in. One of those who dropped in, I met some very interesting people, was Banjo Patterson. But he was never called Banjo in the family, it was always Barty. I remember my grandfather saying what a joy it was to see Barty, but he was never very keen on Barty's disreputable friends. But Banjo Patterson was a solicitor. He was in partnership with William Street, Uncle Willie, my grandfather's brother, and a partnership of Street and Patterson. So there's a link across there too.